Please let parents know that they are welcome to drop questions into the chat. We're going to use that for the majority of our meeting just to keep things flowing and me able to get this information out. And that includes Spanish-speaking parents. They can type in Spanish and you can translate that to me.
También si quieren pueden escribir en el grupo del chat aquí en español. Yo les puedo, cualquier pregunta que tengan y si la directora no tiene la respuesta ahorita que les pueda contestar, ella luego ya en cuanto se entere de lo que necesitan saber, ella me puede mandar decir y yo a ustedes les dejo saber, sea por teléfono o en persona, como quieran. Nomás de escribirlo, lo pueden escribir en español, yo se lo puedo traducir en inglés a la maestra, a la directora, perdón.
Okay, let's get started. I wanted to start off our meeting by talking to you guys a little bit about the situation, and I wanted to get out of the way that I understand that different people have different opinions or attitudes with regards to COVID or whether or not it's serious or not. And this is not the forum to kind of tackle that issue. This forum here is meant strictly to inform parents, to let you know what I am doing as the school principal and how the school will be functioning with regards to state, county, and district guidelines. So, you know, I understand that people have differing opinions and that's okay, but my intent here is not to tackle those issues. It is to give you the information about how our school will run. Veronica?
Okay. Dice que lo que se va a tratar de la junta es de que va a dar la información de cómo vamos a manejar la escuela. Ella está muy consciente que muchos padres no están de acuerdo de cómo van a regresar a la escuela, y esta junta les agradecería si no la ataquen a ella, porque ella nada más está siguiendo las reglas como directora para como la están por el distrito, que lo están manejando por el estado y por el condado. Y y pues me imagino que muchos papás no están de acuerdo si van a abrir la escuela o no quieren que vayan, pero que por favor tengan mucha paciencia y nada más les va a explicar cómo es que va a manejar la escuela como trabajo.
We lost you, Veronica. They asked you to speak a little louder.
Can you guys hear me now? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Now we can. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Now I don't know what part they didn't hear. That's the
I
problem.
think it was mainly where you're talking about, you know, this is informational.
Information about the way you're going to run the school.
Yes.
Okay. No sé si me alcanzaron a escuchar todo, pero principalmente la junta se va a tratar de como directora. Ms. Acevedo va a explicar cómo es que va a correr la escuela. Okay.
Okay, is everyone, Jeff, do you show anyone in Mr. Pappas in the waiting room? Or are we good?
I showed nobody in the weight room.
Okay. Oh, somebody just came. Okay, I am going to share the screen and begin the slideshow presentation. At that time, if you have questions that you drop into the chat, we will address those at that time. I ask that you kind of let me get through the presentation. I think some of your questions will be answered, and then we will tackle the ones that you don't see in there after. We will also be dropping a slideshow in, copies of the slideshow in right now. I believe Mr. Pappas either has or will be dropping in additional PowerPoints for you. And you can click on those. There's one in English and one in Spanish if you would like to follow along in a different language. Okay, so I'm going to get started. Hang on just a second. That is my English. Hang on just a second. Okay, here we go. Sorry. You will find in the slideshow that there is a link to our Beckman safety plan, as well as the Lodi USD safety plan. And a lot of questions regarding sanitizing, regarding cleaning up facilities are answered in that document. Right now, there have been a lot of questions with regards to AB schedule and distance learning. At the beginning of this school year, there was a survey that was sent by the district regarding potential distance learning options or AB hybrid model. The numbers that or the placement that we have been going off of as a site has been based on that survey. So some parents signed up for what we call hybrid, and some parents expressed a wish to have their students remain on distance learning. Now, we understand that there have been some changes. Parents, for example, that currently are having their student all on distance learning now want to have their students come on hybrid, and vice versa. We are working to make those changes. However, it is time intensive, and it does involve making sure that our classes are balanced. If you would like a change, we have been having parents contacting the office, and we are trying to get those changes done by Friday so that teachers have ample time to prepare and make sure that they have social distancing in place in the classrooms for your children. There have been some questions from parents about the ability to move a child from an A schedule to a B schedule and vice versa. We are unable to accommodate that request. I understand that can be frustrating. However, we have been very strategically placing these students in order to accommodate families with multiple children, in order to accommodate the class sizes needed for social distancing. And so when we make a change to that, it is beyond just moving a child from one point to another. It impacts, sometimes depending on the size of the family, multiple classrooms, as well as high schoolers and middle schoolers who are on the schedule where they may have 6 different teachers. So we are mindful of that, and that is not something that we are able to accommodate. If for some reason the A or the B schedule that you are on does not work for you, the other option would be distance learning. Teachers by now have communicated those to parents, and parents should know if their child is an A or a B, or if they are a D. And in those events, we've been getting calls and we've been navigating those. My office has been letting parents know that we are taking down their information. My secretary is working feverishly to get those children switched over and make sure that the family keys all align. We call them a family key because it's a unique identifier for a family of children. And then that those schedules are changed. We ask that you confirm your change next week to make sure that it shows the way it should. That doesn't mean your child is on a wait list. That just means that it is going to take us time to have that change officially occur in the system. For our students, this is the example. I dojoed this out to parents, I believe 2 days ago, but this is our schedule and this is how it reads. If a student is an A student, then they would be on the blue schedule here. That means that they would be in class on Mondays and Thursdays. And if they are in AM kinder, they start at 8 o'clock. If they are in PM kinder, they would start at 11:30. If they are first through third grade, they would start at 8:30. And from 4 to 6, they would start at 8:30 as well. Veronica, I don't know if you want to do any brief translation. Just letting them know this is the schedule for A's and B's. You're muted. Oh, I think Mr. Pappas, can you unmute Miss Veronica? Okay. Now you went back to mute.
Okay. It wasn't it put me on mute, so. I'm just gonna do it very briefly, Miss Acevedo.
Sure, that's fine.
Okay. Padres, lo que estaba diciendo la directora ahorita es de que, pues en primer lugar, yo sé que muchos papás ahorita no están de acuerdo o no están teniendo problemas de que hayan puesto a los niños en los horarios. Afortunadamente, muchos papás están hablando que los quieren cambiar si les tocó el A o si les haya tocado el B. Al principio del año hubo una encuesta que les mandaron, fue casi al principio del año, si ustedes querían que sus hijos, que si llegaríamos a abrir la escuela, les viera, ustedes estaban de acuerdo que si querían ir a la escuela o que siguieran estudiando de distancia. Ahora, muchos papás están hablando que ahorita quieren cambiarlos, que se queden en casa, y me imagino que eso está bien, pero ahorita lo que sí no pueden hacer es cambiarlos de horario, que sea A o B. Ahorita ya parece que los están perteneciendo en esos horarios porque nomás pueden tener cierta cantidad de niños en los salones. Now you, Ms. Acevedo, I'm sorry, did you say if they were A or B, is it okay if they were to want to change on distance learning, is that
They
okay?
could change to distance learning, but we cannot change from A to B or B to A.
Okay, so si ustedes, si están ahorita para regresar a la escuela y ustedes quisieran que se cambiaran para que se quedaran en casa, eso sí lo pueden hacer todavía. Is there a certain day that they have to turn it in or a call?
We should know, we would like to know by tomorrow because we need to have these students in their places to start when we return from break.
Y si les gustaría cambiarlos, que se queden en casa, si pudieran hablar mañana para que los cambien en la computadora, sería mejor. Si ustedes quieren que se queden en casa, si son, se sienten más cómodos de esa manera.
And Veronica, just to make things easier, I don't know if you want to kind of type it, if you want to put it in the chat and parents can maybe read it in Spanish as I'm going through, if that would be easier.
Okay, I can also do that.
Okay. Looking at the schedule, we have our blue, which is our schedule A, which will be in class on Monday and Thursday for basically that minimum day, except for our PM kinder who will be here from 11:30 to 2:30. On Tuesday and Friday, those students are at home distance learning. And then for our schedule B students, it would be reversed. So on Monday and Thursday, those students are distance learning. And on Tuesday and Friday, those students are learning in person. And our SDC classes, those are our special day classes, they are in class 4 days a week. That is Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. And everyone, all students are distance learning on Wednesday. I understand, and I saw that there were some questions in the chat about how students will be learning when they are at home versus when they are at school and vice versa. Each teacher is going to be developing their own unique way of servicing their students. However, all students will be receiving a mix of what we would call synchronous instruction and asynchronous instruction. So those students are going to have some time, just like they currently do under distance learning, where they will be Zooming in with their teacher and having that live support and academic instruction. The only thing that will be different for our students that are hybrid is they will be having that synchronous instruction in person. So depending on how the teacher develops their schedule, some will have their A's and B's together in the morning and they will be teaching them all. So while they have their live students in front of them, they will be Zooming in with their students that are at home. And a teacher might have it that way. Another teacher may say, I'm going to only work with my in-person people live in the morning, and I am going to have my asynchronous instruction, my work that the kids do independently for those that are at home. And then in the afternoon, I'm going to work with them live on a Zoom or however they develop it, so that everybody is meeting their instructional minutes. So while the idea behind the hybrid model is wholly inclusive, all kids at school and at home will be receiving a mix of what we call synchronous. So that is face-to-face, whether in person or over the computer with their students, and a mix of independent time. But so I know there's some concern maybe for the students that are home distance learning because they won't have that face-to-face contact, but they will have synchronous instruction with their teachers. That schedule will look different, just like it has for our teachers right now currently under our distance learning model, and they will communicate their schedule with you. On Wednesday, every student should still Zoom in and take part in synchronous and asynchronous instruction, just they're doing it at home like they have been doing this school year. If you look on this schedule, you can see on Wednesdays that that is still our distance learning day, and that is going to be the day that we do our meal pickup, which is going to bring me to our next slide. Hold on here. For some reason my... Okay. Oh, wait, let me go back. Oh, I don't have my lunch slide here. Sorry. Okay, before I move on, let me explain it on this slide then. I thought I had my lunch slide here. On the day that a student is in school, they will be receiving their breakfast and lunch for the day. So they will receive their food for that day. On Wednesday is the day that students that are distance learning only and students that are picking up food for other days will be coming. So Wednesday will be our largest meal pickup day, but on any day that your child has a in-person instruction, they will also be taking home a meal for the day. Entering campus and what to expect. You guys, parents will be receiving information from the district regarding a self-screener that you do at home with your children before sending them to school. I apologize in advance for not having more information on that. That is still forthcoming. It is very important that students in AM Kinder, as well as our students in the morning, come to class or come to school no earlier than about 7:45 to 7:50. And the reason we say this is because often, you know, pre-COVID, we had students who would get dropped off early and they would come into the gate. However, now with our new checks in place, they won't be able to come into the gate until they have their temperature check. Therefore, that means that they would be out front, and that is not a good place for them to be out by the parking lot. So we're asking that mornings, we make sure that parents drop off their children within 15 minutes of the start time. So for our AM kinders, that would be at 7:45. And for the rest of our students, grades 1 through 6, that would be at 8:15. We are going to have 4 points of entry. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot PM Kinder. PM Kinder should arrive at 11:15 because their start time is 11:30. Veronica, I don't know if you want to take a second to let parents know that we need them to not come prior to 15 minutes, but I think again, you are muted. Mr. Pappas, are you able to take Veronica off mute?
Okay. I was just gonna say, because I mean, this is kind of getting a little hard because when I seen a parent that they wanted me to translate.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any way we can go like in a breakout room or something, and then that way the other parent, I mean, we don't.
You can if you want to go over the slideshow with them. That would be Mr. Pappas that would organize that.
Would be better because I have the slideshow here, and that way, you know, I don't interfere with all the English parents. And
There's no way to do that right now. Not with 130 someone. It would take a long time.
Okay, well, there's a parent that wanted me to translate, and there was no way I could get unmuted, and Miss Acevedo was.
Could you just let them know that it's important that children arrive no sooner than 15 minutes before their start time?
Okay, la directora se está haciendo un poquito complicado para traducir todo lo que está diciendo, pero dice que nada más quiere que sepan los padres que por favor los niños no lleguen no más tardado de 15 minutos antes de que empiece la clase. Okay,
thank you.
Somebody's asking a question.
Okay.
La mamá de Liani, nomás hable a la oficina y pregunte, o sea, dé el nombre de su niño o su niña, en qué grupo está. Right, Ms. Acevedo? How can she find out what group their child's in?
Yes, if she called, well, the teacher should let them know, but if they don't know, they can call the office.
La maestra le tiene que haber avisado, pero si no le han avisado, nomás hable a la oficina y le avisan.
We will have 4 points of entry in order to allow our students to socially distance as much as possible. There will be on the side by the staff parking lot by preschool will be our 5-6 entry. Kindergarten will use their kindergarten gate. Our main gate will be for grades 3 and 4. And the far gate on the side, the other side of the multi-purpose room, will be our gate for 1st and 2nd grade. Students will come to school with a mask. Please bring your child with a mask. And they will be going straight to their classrooms upon temperature check and entry to campus. We are looking for a temperature of less than 100.4 according to CDC guidelines.
You want me to translate that or?
Sure, you can let the parents know. The slideshow is in Spanish. We do have a Spanish. I know there are many questions with regards to safety on campus. Our guidelines are as follows. Everyone must wear a mask. We are, of course, socially distancing and have limited our numbers of occupants in classrooms. And teachers have made every effort to space students out with about 4 feet of space, and there are desk shields provided in classes. We have 2 additional hand washing stations that have been placed outdoors for students when they are outside taking what we would call a designated brain break. And we have use of hand sanitizers in class. for students who are worried if they come in contact with something. That is also in class. Cleaning and disinfecting. We have cleaning and disinfecting protocols in place on site. And if you go to the plan that you've seen at the beginning of the slideshow that is linked to Lodi Unified's site district-wide plan, it talks about, we have a cleaner that we use on surfaces, hard surfaces on campus to sanitize between the AV days and to spray on contact, high contact areas. Also, one of our biggest implementations for student safety and staff safety is no shared supplies. So your child will have their own scissors, their own pencils, their own materials in class. It's not like before where, we would have them all stored together in a common area and kids would kind of grab and pull. Every child will have their own materials at their own desk. Veronica, I don't know if you need to stop and translate any of this or if you were just typing it into the chat.
Actually, I have a question. One parent is asking if she can't take her student, her child, the days he is supposed to be in school, will he lose like the day like from school?
It would be if a child that we would take attendance like we would with any given situation. And if a child is not on campus and on a day they're expected to be, then they would be marked absent. Now, if there was a medical note that said that that child should not be on campus, whether there, was a concern regarding health, it would be treated like any other illness. One thing I really want to, if you notice here, it says isolating and sending home students that are symptomatic. We really are, a Beckman family, and we really have to work together to support this situation. And we really ask parents to be mindful in their sending students if you believe that your son or daughter could be sick. We ask that you do everything you can to keep them home if you worry that there could be possible exposure. It's only in working together that we can try to keep those numbers down so that we can continue to have in-person instruction. So we're doing our best to maintain safety, and that includes making sure that your child is well enough to be on campus. And in the event that we do notify you that your child is ill, this is how our protocol works at school. We will be, if a child comes to school and appears to be ill, they will contact the office. Most likely it will be myself or my vice principal that will go out and triage and assess the situation, see how the child feels. We have a designated sick room. In that sick room, we have partitions because one of our big concerns, and I'm sure yours as well, would be we don't want a child that is sick with a mere, stomach ache, or maybe they just are, have some allergies, being in a room and then maybe somebody possibly that is exposed to COVID, sitting right next to them. So we've made every effort to keep our sick room or our room where we are having students go if they are not feeling well. The students are separated. There will be partitions there. There are gowns. There are safety protocols in place for that space for us to be able to keep the children separated. We would contact you immediately to come and pick up your child. And then we would have them go directly from our sick room off campus.
Can I answer a question, Ms. Acevedo?
Sure.
Lucila, si no te ha hablado la maestra en dónde han puesto a Rubén, nomás habla la oficina, pero si ya está en el grupo A o B. And the parent wants their child to go to school, is that still possible or no?
I'm sorry, I lost part of your audio.
If the child is on distance learning now, is it possible that they can change it to A or B?
They would need to contact the office.
Okay.
Okay. If a student presents with a temperature of 100 degrees or higher or displaying illness, they will be moved to the sick room. They will be socially distanced and partitioned. And once again, we will contact parents to pick up children, and please let us work together and make sure that they are picked up in a timely fashion. These are, and this is once again linked into the PowerPoint that you have in the chat. These are the official Lodi Unified and Cal OSHA guidelines from our business services department that explain what would happen in the event of an outbreak. Protocols for school closure. It has that information for parents that would like to take a look. Transportation. For parents that have students that take the bus, masks will be worn by everyone. Hand sanitizer will be given to students before they enter the bus. Students will be distanced to the greatest extent possible. They will try to put some space between seating. Siblings may sit together because they are kind of part of the same cohort together. And the windows will be open to allow for ventilation. Transportation for our general education students may be limited to accommodate social distancing, but we are not a huge bus school, so I don't know that that will have much impact for us.
Padre,
Meals on,
let me say something real quick.
sure.
Nadie tiene preguntas sobre de los autobuses, si van a recoger a los niños en los camiones. Silvia, mamá de Gustavo, ¿no te ha avisado la maestra o el maestro en qué grupo está Gustavo? I'll just go ahead and chat the parent. That's fine. Go ahead, Ms. Acevedo.
Okay, thank you. Okay, as far as our meals, we are currently planning to serve breakfast on site. That is going to be done differently based on teacher discretion. The idea being that we would like to give the kids an opportunity to have some food because we know it's a long time, it's a long block of time in the mornings. And the way that would work is our meal services would be dropping off a box of food outside of the classroom for teachers to give to students. Students would consume something. It's going to be something that is very portable, and the child should be able to open independently and consume, and then would be able to then throw away, and we would be trashing out at each classroom, but the custodial staff would not be going into rooms. For teachers that don't feel comfortable with students eating inside the room, given that we are now getting better weather, they will have the opportunity to have students socially distanced and eating outside if that is a preference. We also have a large number of picnic tables that will be coming in, and the hope is that students will be able to also socially distance at mealtime, at a breakfast time if they needed to there as well. I wanted to talk about our structured brain break because I know parents have had concerns regarding recess. Students will be given time to take a break from their academics. We call it a structured brain break because it will not look like a typical recess for students. They cannot use playground equipment and structures. They will be roped off. We will allow structured movement activities like a walking club, but there's no contact games. Anything would be at the discretion of adult supervision. They would be with their own cohort of students. So if you are in Miss Ames' class, your students would remain with Miss Ames' class. Students will not be what we call commingling. We will have a line marked down the blacktop in the back, and we will have our primary students on one side and our intermediate students on the other. They don't use the same restroom facilities, and no class is out with another of the same grade level. So there will not be 2 first grades out. There will not be 2 third grades out. They will always be separated. A student is able to bring a snack to consume during their break. We know some students sometimes need that, but we ask that it is one that the child is able to open and consume without assistance. Please send your child with a water bottle, because our water fountains will be for filling water containers only, and that is for the safety of students. If you have a child that forgets a water bottle on a day, I don't want you to worry that your child would not have access to water. We will have, for emergency uses, some little Dixie cups and things that they can take and fill and dispose of, so that they still would have access to water, or if they needed it. Outside, the students will be socially distanced and they can sit on the grass or the blacktop. Continuing on, Veronica, if you want to put any of that in Spanish but it's all in the slideshow that's in Spanish.
Okay.
So you can put it in the chat.
Okay, I'll just ask if anybody.
Okay, for music and PE, under current guidelines given by the district, PE and music must be done via distance learning. Therefore, whether a student is on campus or at home, PE and music will be happening on Zoom or Google Meets, just like it has been right now with students at home. So students will not be doing music or PE with the teacher. The library, in order to ensure that students are as socially distanced as possible and staying in their own cohort, she is going to use a mobile card. So what will happen is students will have the opportunity to go into the computer, their Chromebook, and select what books they would like to check out. And Ms. Kataka will be delivering those books to the classroom. They will be dropped off with the students so they can take them home, they can read them. And then when they turn them in, they will be sanitized and able to go for checkout at a later date for another student. But at this time, we will not have students going to the library. As far as exiting campus, our release times are approximate. AM Kinder will release at 11, PM Kinder at 2:30, first through third grade at 12:35, and fourth through sixth grade at 12:45, and they will exit out of the same entrance gate that they use when they come to campus. Here's just a link to our district frequently asked questions. I know that there are many questions in the chat, so I am going to stop share and I'm going to try to address as many of those with the time that I have right now. So Jeff, go ahead and ask those questions.
Go all the way back to the beginning, and then we'll see if we can go through. And then the rest of, if you have questions, just keep adding them to the bottom, and I'll eventually get to them. All right. Okay. Will there be distance recess? Will there be distancing during recess? Or
Yes.
are they able to play with other kids?
There will be distancing. Now we are going to try to put on some music. We are going to try to give maybe the kids some opportunities to dance. We are looking at ways to give the kids some normalcy while also making sure that they maintain social distancing.
Perfect. Is there soap and hand sanitizers, available in the rooms?
Yes.
And let's see, how many students will be in the class with the teacher at any given time?
It should be no more than half of the students. So it depends on the class size. But like for a primary classroom, they have 24 students. It would be no more than 12 on a given day. But I don't know that we have any class that is 100% everybody returning. So if, for example, if there is a class of 24 and 4 of those kids have chosen to remain on distance learning, then that means the total number of students that would be coming to school would be 20. We divide that in half, so that would be 10 on each day.
Let's see here. Will we be notified if some students get COVID-19?
Yes, there is protocols that have been set forth by the district as far as how to contact trace and inform parents. But yes, if there was an outbreak that affected a child at school, there would be notification.
Would a sudden change in numbers derail everything that we've been discussing today? Or are we basically set to proceed with hybrid learning regardless of what occurs?
I can only answer based on the information I currently have, which is the direction we are going is this is a situation that we are going to, but in the event of an outbreak at a school where a certain percentage of students or staff became positive, then we would be looking at potentially a school closure. And I think that is for 10 days. If there, of course, is an uptick or we see a spike in cases in the county, then whatever guidelines they designate, whether that's going back to all distance learning, would be a possibility. But as of right now, we are moving forward with our plan.
Is there extra janitors on staff or disinfecting crews?
We have the same amount of custodial staff that we had prior to COVID. However, there are additional protocols, as for example, like our Wednesday that we don't have our students is meant to be a deep cleaning day. So there are new guidelines within the same amount of staffing.
How will you deal with children who refuse to wear a mask or parents who don't want their children to do so?
Wearing a mask is an expectation of the district, and it would be like anything that would happen with a student that was refusing to follow a directive that was given at school. So that would be that progressive discipline would apply. If a parent feels really strongly about their child not wearing a mask, and that is something that is required right now on site coming to school, then probably the best option for them would be distance learning.
Perfect. Will bathrooms be available or only one student at a time?
Yes, I'm glad you asked. It's a good question. We are making every attempt to provide extra time for cleaning of our bathrooms, and we are masking off our bathrooms. If you've been out to like the hospital, you might see that they do this, or out at a waiting area where they mark off every other seat. We are marking off every other stall. We are marking off every other sink, so that those students are hopefully socially distancing to the best of their abilities. And during our structured brain breaks, we will be monitoring to make sure that the students are only going in the amount that they are able to go in and use the facility and exit. But yes, there are bathrooms available and the students are able to use those.
Perfect. Mr. and Mrs. Ortiz asked, do we have the option to stay on distance learning?
Yes, absolutely.
Is there a specific reason why the students can't have a full day at school?
I am not aware of a specific reason why. I just know that this is the schedule that has been developed, and I believe it is so that we are able to accommodate all of our students. And it's not just the students, because we have a number of students that do want to come back, and we welcome that. But we also have parents and people with different circumstances who want their children to be at home. In order for the teachers to be able to accommodate all of them, then that means that we have to make some adjustments, which is why our schedule is shorter in order for our teachers to be able to plan for both our in-person and at-home students.
Okay, who will be assisting / teaching the children when the opposite group is at school?
It will be that same teacher. The teacher will be managing both.
And then I think we answered this one already about the bathrooms being available.
Yes.
So children get to go home at 12:45 and finish school at home. Is that correct?
That is correct. They are given time to pick up their meals, to for parents to get them home, and then they will be resuming their time after school. They're kind of distance learning still at 1:30.
Parent wants to know how will this work where half the class is at school and half the class is out of school?
As I stated before, that is going to be a situation where the teacher is going to develop her schedule or his schedule in a way that best works for them. Some teachers feel very comfortable with some of the new technology that's come out, and they feel that they are able to service both students, kind of have their cohort of, and we purchased some new technologies such as something called the OWL, which enables them to kind of maneuver around the classroom, and the student at home and the student in front of them are both being taught concurrently. But other teachers may say that's not what works for me, so I'm going to devote some time to these people in person, and then in the afternoon I'm going to work with my students that are home. So that is going to be dependent on the teachers. They are being very, very thoughtful and mindful of how they structure their days, and I think that we will be able to service all accordingly.
Perfect. Will temperatures be taken daily? Yes, at the gates. I can answer
Yes.
that one. We just answered the going home and doing work. If my child gets sick with COVID, will they be able to continue with distance learning, or will they lose those days of school?
I would say if your child comes down ill and is able to continue to sign into their classes, then yes, they would be home. But I would say yes, they can continue to learn, and I would be happy that they feel well enough to do so. If they are not, feeling their best, then it would be treated like another absence.
Perfect. I think we went over what would happen if someone gets COVID, will they shut the school down again? I think we kind of covered that.
Yeah, there's a numbers and a formula behind that, and it has to reach a certain threshold, and then we would be looking at that.
Perfect. When's the plan to get them back full time?
I'm hoping we're moving in the right direction. I wish I could tell you. I think we all would like some normalcy and just to see everything back to the way it was. We're just not there yet. Hopefully, as we continue to see numbers drop, things will get better and we can get everybody back. But I don't have a timeline for that.
Perfect. There was a concern about the time frame, and it's hard for working parents to move things in less than 24 hours.
I understand the challenges with being able to figure out a schedule. Unfortunately, we are kind of bound. This change came for us quickly as well. And we don't have the manpower and the support staff over our 2-week break to be able to ensure that change happens. So that's why we're doing everything we can to get those changes in by tomorrow. If there is, I'm sorry? Go ahead.
I was going to read the next question. I wasn't sure if you were done.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
SDC students will be distance learning on Wednesdays too. So I'm just answering the question. Yes, they will be.
Everyone will be. That allows for deep cleaning at site.
There's a question about buses taking us to school. Will there be buses taking us to school?
There will. Those students that get transportation, they will still be receiving transportation.
Can you pick up lunch on days that you're home?
Okay. On a day that you are home, yes, you can. But Wednesday is going to be the day that is probably our biggest meal pickup. So if you want to get food that is going to last you over a number of days, then that would probably be the best day to come. But if you have a child that, of course, wants to come and get a lunch and is hungry, we want them to eat.
Let's see. Do we bring a lunch from home or just eat it at school? Do we bring the lunch at home, or do we? So the lunches will be going home. They will not be eaten at school.
Lunches will not be consumed at school. Students will be getting those as they leave. They can go home, they can eat their lunch, and then get back onto the computer to resume the rest of their day.
Also, can they bring a lunch or a snack?
They cannot bring a lunch because we won't be eating lunch at school. However, they can bring a snack for their structured brain break time, but that snack needs to be something that the student can navigate on their own.
Let's see, will there be extra mass if a child needs one?
Yes, in the event that a student, sometimes the strap might break or something like that, we will have extra masks on campus.
A question about how we will protect children from other sick kids.
Our hope is by not having them share supplies, by spacing them to the best of our ability, by having our triage location in place for students that do seem to feel ill, and we're able to take them to a location where they're away from the other students. Our hope is that we can mitigate that.
If my child starts hybrid schedule and I don't feel secure continuing it, can we switch to distance learning, or once she starts the year, she has to finish it?
I would say that continuity and consistency is really important for children. If they move, that's okay. You can make that change to distance learning, but that would be a permanent move. So if a parent said, I just don't feel comfortable with this, I would really like them to go to distance learning, then the understanding would be that would carry them throughout the end of the school year.
Okay. Will there be an after-school program?
Good question. Thank you. Those parents that have students in the Bridge program, and Veronica, hang on just a second. Veronica, if you want to put in the chat that after I finish with these questions, I would be happy to stay on with my Spanish-speaking parents for a little while longer and answer some questions they may have. Okay. Continuing on as far as Bridge. Bridge will still be happening, however, it will be virtual. So a student would go home, they would finish their day, and then after 2:30, they would go on and Zoom with Bridge, similar to what they have been doing right now.
Perfect. Mrs. Izagari, Mrs. Carpenter will be sending you her schedule for her specific class. In fact, all teachers will be sending their schedules to their students.
Okay.
I'm not sure how to address it's just a comment. Is there going to be breakfast?
Yes, yes, there should be a breakfast, and we are figuring out still the logistics behind that and how that will work for everyone. But yes, there will be breakfast provided. Some students may eat that outside though, because that is how their teacher feels most comfortable doing that.
100.4 is high for a temp. We're following our CDC and county guidelines. So that's where we get all those numbers. What about kids who fake being sick? At this point, we're going to take everything seriously, and that might be a conversation that parents might want to have with their kids if you find out they are pretending to be sick just to get sent home. Will maskless students be sent home? I think we addressed that one.
Yes.
Our state requirement 6 feet, but 4 feet, but we're doing 4 feet. Again, that the county and CDC say 4 feet for the classrooms for schools. Let's see. Can a child log on for distance learning if they're unable to attend school that day?
I would say that it would need to be, I would need to know why the student was absent. We are making every effort to keep the students that are supposed to be on campus. If they have a medical note that states that they are unable to be on campus due to illness, then yes, if they can get home and navigate that, that's okay. But we do want to make sure that students are regularly attending on the days that they are supposed to.
Perfect. Kindergartner that is, it's their first day on campus. How are they going to know where to go? Can parents come on to assist them to their classrooms?
No, we will not be able to have parents on campus for them to enter like they used to in the past. But the kindergarten gate is right up front. Their teachers will be there waiting for them, and I think the transition will be okay, but they won't be able to walk them into the classroom.
Can we continue? Yes, you can continue doing school from home as long as you're a distance learning. If you're not, you can call the office and switch up till Friday, correct, Mrs. Azevedo? Or
Yes.
Let's see. Which locations will buses be going to?
Do you mean as far as home, or do you mean drop off and pick up? I believe they will be the same and similar to the routes that they have right now. They will be arriving in the same spot if there's a bus lane at the front of the school, and their drop-offs would be, for a lot of our special ed students, that is usually door to door.
What happens if a teacher has tested positive for COVID? What measures are in place for class as far as quarantine goes, since the classes now had firsthand contact?
There are COVID protocols in place, and that it has us do something called contact tracing. So we would go through the steps that the district has, which is for notification of everyone involved and quarantine measures based on who meets the qualifications for exposure protocols. If the slideshow that I shared earlier has some links with some information that explains that in more detail.
Perfect. Scroll through. I think the answer, you cannot bring your own lunch. You can bring a snack.
Yes.
Yes, starting Monday is our 2-week break. Someone asked that. Sorry, I'm just scrolling through. For drop off and pickup, is it strictly to get them, is it strictly them getting out of the car, no parents walking to the gate? Yes, so just the students getting out and walking to the gate. Yes, there's going to be a 2-week break. There's a question, Ms. Azevedo, about picking up. Can they go to pick them up? Are you talking about out in front of the gate? Did we lose Mrs. Azevedo? I think we did. So parents won't be allowed to go on campus to pick them up, but if you're here in a car or you're standing out in front on the sidewalk, once they are dismissed, yes. Will Bridge start? It'll be on distance learning. Bridge will be on distance learning. Will this schedule continue into next year? As of right now, we are not sure. If this is, the schedule is determined on what tier we're on. And so right now we're in hybrid. So as things change, either way, schedules might change. So as far as what next year will look like, we're not sure yet. can I change my child from PM kindergarten to AM kindergarten? That right now is not an option because we are full, from what I know, but you can call the office and we could check that.
Sorry, I apologize. I'm back. I had everything go completely dark, so I had to really quickly switch devices. I apologize for the technical difficulty. And thank you, Mr. Pappas, for helping out. I did want to take a second to address the chat. I understand that some people have some strong feelings one way or the other. My intention is only to give the information so that you are most informed to make the best decisions for what feels right for your family. But I also ask that you guys remember that, you know, we are working together in this, and our children are all our children here at Beckman. And so we are just mindful of that. And we are going to do the best we can to get answers to all your questions. If I was not able to answer all of your questions today, you can always email. And Mr. Pappas, if you could please put my email into the chat. And you can email Mr. Pappas as well. But I also don't want to take too much more of your time. But I wanted to give you as much information as possible to make an informed decision. Mr. Pappas, if there's a few more questions to be answered, but I also did, we're going on an hour here, and I want to also have some time to speak to our Spanish speaking parents as well, because I understand that they may have some questions.
Yes, there's a question about pickup. It
Okay.
says if they have a student at the 12:35 and 12:45 pickup, what will be the procedures? Will it be similar to what it was last year as far as where they can park?
Yes. Yes.
Will we require a negative test for returning to school if a child contracts COVID?
It would be the quarantine. Usually there is I believe it's now at 10 days, but there is a timeline that we need to follow upon symptoms. There's a few factors that would depend there. Would depend on when symptoms started, when, you know, they have tests, things like that. But we would address that with the family at the time.
Are students bringing computers to school? Again, that'll be determined by the teacher. They will be letting you know, probably along with their schedule. Let's see, are there air purifiers in rooms? Yes,
Yes.
in larger rooms, there's multiple. So how do students know where they're going? If another question about how they will know where to go when they get there, if they don't already know. We will have people at every gate, then of course myself and Mrs. Azevedo and every possible person that we can will be helping guiding students to where they need to be.
It is very similar to a first day of school, and our teachers and our support staff will be there ready to help navigate the kids. Given that the entries that we've chosen are very close to where the classes are located, the teachers, they'll walk right into where their classrooms will be.
Mrs. Lopez asked a question specifically about students with medical issues and about the bathroom. Definitely, that'll be something you want to talk to your teacher about. We are not restricting kids from using the restroom at all. So, but if you have a concern, talk to your child's teacher. School supplies, are they going to be able to bring the needed supplies?
They should have, it will be a discussion with the teacher as far as what the teacher would like them to have coming between home and school. Being that they're the only person that's going to be handling these things regardless. But they will have what they need every day at school. We have developed a little individual learning kits for the kids. So they should come to school every day and have what they need. But teachers may, on a case-by-case basis, classroom by classroom, have things that they want their students to bring to and from, such as a Chromebook.
Perfect. Will staff be tested weekly? or at all?
Right now, as of right now, I do not have a directive for that, but that could change. And if it does, we will make sure that parents are made aware.
Do I just call the school to keep my daughter at home using her Chromebook distance learning?
Yes.
Um, if students miss class, I think we talked about that, but if they miss class, can they go on to the Zoom meeting instead?
It needs to be for an excused absence. It needs to be for an illness, like with the doctor's note. It can't just be, we weren't able to get there today, so we are distance learning. We're making every effort to have those kids on campus the days that they're supposed to be there.
Miss Day Herrera is amazing. I agree with you. She says that she appreciates that she's answering questions and looking forward to staff being so. Thank you for being flexible. Will it be an attendance issue if a child stays home for their in-person day or days?
I'm sorry, I'm not understanding the
They're
question.
asking, will it be an attendance issue if the child stays home instead of going to their in-person days?
Well, yeah, it would be an absence depending on the reason that they weren't there.
What's the timings for SDC?
The SDC times are the same as it depends on the grade level, but SDC for K1 will be from 8:30 to 12:35, as well as SDC 2-3. The one that's different is SDC 4-6, which is going to be 8:30 to 12:45.
Okay, so a couple questions. There was a couple more about that same thing.
Okay, I'm going to take probably, if you could scroll through, Mr. Pappas, and give me maybe 2 or 3 more, because I do want to take some time to speak to those parents that may have not gotten all the information.
Another question about if we go back fully, will Bridge go back? That it's just a matter of if we're allowed to mix students. Right now, they have to be what's called cohorted and with that group only. So we'll tackle that as soon as we have the option to tackle that. Right now, we can't. If it's raining and cold, we stay inside. And schedules will be sent out by teachers to let you know about their individual schedules. I'm just scrolling through. Okay, how will pickup be if parents are out there not wearing masks? That's
the way we currently, any parent that comes on campus, we ask that they have a mask. But the way that we usually have done our pickup is usually that drive-through. And we would have the child socially distanced. We have that kind of pickup area in the front. They would come through. We would have the kids socially distanced and waiting for their parents, and then they would get in the car. But if a parent does come on campus or walks up to the gates to pick up their child, we ask that you please be mindful of everyone else and please wear a mask.
That's it.
Okay. Thank you. I want to thank parents for, thank you for being understanding. I wish that I was able to give everyone all of the answers that they preferred, but I am just sharing the information as we have it here at Beckman. But know that the teachers here are working tirelessly, as is the office staff, as is my support staff, to really do everything we can to make things as safe as possible for students. And, we are excited to bring students back, and we look forward to working with you and hoping that we get through this. We will. Okay, if you have a Spanish-speaking parent, Veronica, if you want to let them know if they want to stand for a couple more minutes, I'm happy to speak to them as well.
Padres, si se quieren quedar, para hacerle preguntas a la directora, lo pueden hacer. Nos quedaremos yo y ella para contestarle cualquier pregunta que tengan.
I'm gonna Ms. Azevedo, how do we want to allow them to ask the questions?
Bye, Menasha. They can put them in the chat, or if you would like to just, it depends on how many are in here.
We have right now 68.
Oh, that's a lot.
Mr.
Why don't you,
Papa,
Veronica, why don't you ask them if they can chat, and then I'll just give the
well,
answer.
I was just gonna say that it's okay. It's open now.
I just opened it.
Dice que si quieren mejor ponerle en el grupo del chat para si tienen preguntas, porque son varios papás todavía que están. Okay, there's one.
There we go.
Okay.
Esperar si mi hijo contrae el virus en la escuela por el niño, podremos dejar padres por favor. Okay, so if their child's in school and if they were to get infected through another student, is there any protocol, or would they be able to sue the other person?
No. No. I don't believe so. We are doing we are making every effort to make sure that students stay safe, but I don't know how you would specifically be able to say, I caught this from this person. So I can't answer that. I don't.
Dice que esa pregunta no lo puede contestar porque pues nosotros en la escuela vamos a tratar de determinar todo lo necesario para que no se vayan a contagiar, pero pues en sí que estamos usando todos los protocolos para que lo mejor que podamos en la escuela.
Bye, group. Also, I wanted to say that I see a question about field trips. I love field trips. I was a big field trip person when I was a teacher, but unfortunately this year it's not. We have a virtual field trip coming up for, I think, Ag Venture for our 3rd graders, and we have one for virtual science camp for our 5th and 6th, but it's just not something that we are able to do this year with transportation and the current situation of things not really being open. It's not really going to be an option. I see a lot of these kids saying hi. Let parents know that if they have questions and they're not sure what to ask here, or they want to ask in Spanish at some point, they can always send me an email in Spanish and I can get it translated and try to answer them back.
Dice la directora que si no tienen preguntas ahorita o si no están seguros qué preguntar, que le pueden mandar un correo electrónico en español y ella le puede decir a una de nosotras o a Monse que se lo traduzcamos.
Yes, I see a few questions here. If I walk to school, can I take my child up to the gate? Yes, we ask that you be masked. And just like we have always had at Beckman, you will not be able to go past the gate. Also, yes, there will be staff helping the kids navigate where to go when school is out. We will all be out there working. Veronica will be one of them out there, as well as myself and Mr. Pappas, making sure that the kids get safely where they need to be and that they're spaced out. Yes, there is an after-school program, but it will be happening virtually. So if you're not signed up for Bridge, there is a waiting list. So you would want to talk to Miss Yesenia at our school, the Bridge program, and she can help you out. Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Bresenio or Mrs. Bresenio. I really appreciate it, the support. Okay, I think there's one from
There's
Valeria.
another question. Yeah, if she sends her daughter to school, she doesn't feel comfortable after she, assists class, can she do the distance learning? Señora, sí, si usted no se siente cómoda, mamá de Valeria, Si no se siente cómoda, si está puesta en el grupo A o B, usted tiene la autorización de mantenerla en casa.
And then next question, I'm not sure what that is. It says about their son at school with COVID, but they don't present any symptoms.
Yeah. So if they have the COVID and she doesn't show no symptoms, like, what
I mean, the hope is if that did happen, and we know people can sometimes not display symptoms.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
The protocols we have in place of distancing, of masking, of not sharing supplies will minimize the risk of somebody else being infected by that person. And I see a parent asked about what they missed in class. Oh, if you missed this meeting, it will be recorded and we will be putting a link for parents to watch it. And of course, Mrs. Sigmund or Mr. Sigmund, I'm sorry, I can't see. You can always email me questions as well.
Ms. Acevedo, there's another question. So if
Sure.
her son has allergies, will he be placed in the sick room?
Okay, we are, that's a good question. I know with symptoms, it's hard to tell. Yes, if your child has a runny nose, but doesn't have a fever and seems, we are going we're not going to get every child and get them and take them to the sick room. But we will look for, err on the side of caution, contact parents. Parents may say, that's the doctor, this child has noted allergies. I have noted allergies. That way we're better able to understand the child and their symptoms. So we will make every effort to do that. And even if they did get placed in the sick room, we would make sure that they were separated from any other children so they wouldn't be exposed to somebody that was sick.
Dice que pueda que sí lo pongamos en el cuarto de aislamiento, pero no van a estar junto con nosotros, pero hasta que no confirmemos, o que estemos seguros, pues si no tiene calentura y si usted está segura que son alergias, pues lo mandaremos para atrás al salón.
Mrs. Azevedo, there's a question. It says, if it said eating breakfast outside, will there be an indoor area for children to eat if it's too cold or wet outside if they're eating breakfast?
Yes, if they are not eating outside, the hope is they would be eating inside their classroom. If we do have to stagger kids and put them into, let's say, our multi-purpose room, we would not have more than one group in there at a time. So what I'm thinking is we would maybe say, okay, from 8:30 to 8:45, we have this classroom come in, and then we would sanitize and then bring the next group in, similar to what we would do on a rainy day schedule. And I see a question there about standing. Do we have to stand 6 feet apart outside of the gate? We ask that you make every effort to socially distance. So every effort you could to support it, we would appreciate. Okay, it looks like that's about it. Yes. Sure.
Well, is there a possibility they can sue the district if their child was to be will get the virus and through the school if they were to get sick or if they were to pass away?
I don't know that I'm the person to answer that question. They probably would want to reach out to somebody that handles like a litigation that would be able to answer that for them. I can just say that
David no puede contestarle eso. Dice que eso sería una pregunta, me imagino que para un abogado, si quisiera contratar un abogado.
Because I would not be able to say, I mean, it would be very difficult to say how that child got sick or where they got sick. So.
Es que no se podrá confirmar si lo agarró por la escuela o si lo haya ya tenido de afuera. So no pudiera confirmar si lo agarró directamente de la escuela.
And also, I mean, if there's that concern about their child potentially getting sick coming to school, they always have the option to stay on distance learning.
Exactly. That is kind of a risk a parent is assuming when they decide to send their child back to hybrid. If they don't feel comfortable or they're worried that could happen, they can stay on distance learning.
Y otra cosa, si no están no están a gusto de mandar a sus hijos, si usted está preocupado, si lo van a agarrar de la escuela, mejor que se queden en casa al aprendizaje de la distancia. Si ustedes están preocupados, pues, de que se vaya a contagiar en la escuela.
Okay, I think that's about wrapping it up. I don't know if there's, I think that's it. I just really wanted to thank parents for their time. And I apologize if I wasn't able to answer everyone's questions, but I'm hoping I did my best to help you to make an informed decision about the placement of your son or daughter. And I wanted to thank Veronica for helping me out with the Spanish speaking part of this, and Mr. Pappas for helping me to navigate the chat. As always, it is an honor.
We lost your volume, Mrs. Azevedo. Parents, I just put I just put in the chat our emails, and also I've dropped it a couple times, but the Spanish version of the PowerPoint.
Acevedo's lost.
Yeah, Mrs. Corkill, as far as the PE and music schedule goes, it pretty much stays the same. There were some classes that changed. That schedule will be coming out from your child's teacher when they send out their hybrid/distance learning schedule to you. So you may want to dojo your child's teacher if you don't hear that schedule. I would say it most likely might come out by the end of the day tomorrow, but again, that would be the individual teacher sending you their daily schedule.
Oh, I'm sorry. I saw a question I wanted to address. A parent asked if their child did get sick with COVID, would they be able to return back to school? Yes. If they got sick and recovered and went through the mandatory quarantine period, they would be welcomed back at school.
Perfect.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you, parents. Have a good night.
Bye.